بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيبي وحبيب الله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الهاديين الذين ذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في محكم تنزيله: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قالوا إنا وجدنا آباءنا على أمة وإنا على آثارهم مهتدون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. My dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This evening I would like to talk about one of the very important topics of our time. And the topic is two, but I would like to join both of them together and try as much as possible to discuss both topics together. One of them is about al-ijtihad and marja'iyya, and the other one is al-taqleed. When we say al-ijtihad and marja'iyya, means leadership, following a leader in the Muslim world. And then taqleed is to imitate or follow a leader. The reason why I want to talk about this is because nowadays you hear once a while, here and there, in different centers, people talk about maraja in disrespectful way. They make some comments about maraja and the leaders that it's not important to be muqallid. Why do I need to have a marja? What is the purpose? Especially today, we have an almighty Google. Anything that you want, you go on the line, you can Google it, and almighty Google brings you everything you want. So what's the need of a marja? That is number one. That's one of the questions. Number two, is there anywhere in the Quran Allah say we have to follow marja? That is one of the questions they ask. Any ayah in the Quran Allah say I have to follow anybody, marja? That is number two. Number three, they say that if I have to follow someone, let's say I agree that I have to follow a marja, why the marja have to be in Middle East? Somebody sitting somewhere, he has no clue what's going on in the West, and he is dictating what to do, what not to do in the West. If we have to follow a marja, it should be from here. Who knows here, was born, raised here. He knows our problem better than somebody in the Middle who have no clue about what this world is about. That is one of the, there are many of them, but I just want to share these three questions because this is the common questions that people do ask, but there are others as well. But before I talk about ijtihad and maraja, I would like to start off taqleed to begin with, because marja didn't become a marja until the muqallid is found, because otherwise what's the point of leadership if there is no people to follow him? So we will start with the word taqleed. What are the ayahs in the Quran about taqleed? And then also we proceed to the ijtihad, inshallah. Now, number one, the ayah that I just read is about the ayahs in the Quran that talks about taqleed and imitation. However, in the Quran we have two kinds of taqleed. There are two kinds of taqleed. The first one is called taqleed madhmoom. discourage taqleed. Taqleed, to follow somebody, but it's discouraged. And which one is that? As the ayah I read, Allah says, قَالُوا إِنَّا وَجَدْنَا آبَاءَنَا. The kuffar, the disbelievers at the time of the Prophet, when they are asked to follow the Prophet, Quran, Allah, their response is, we are followers of our forefathers. إِنَّا وَجَدْنَا عَلَىٰ آبَاءَنَا عَلَىٰ أُمَّةٍ وَإِنَّا عَلَىٰ آثَارِهِمْ مُقْتَدُونَ. And we will continue following their path. Whatever their custom is, we will follow that. Another ayah regarding to the madhmoom taqleed, that is discouraged. Also another ayah. قَالُوا إِنَّا وَجَدْنَا آبَاءَنَا عَلَىٰ أُمَّةٍ وَإِنَّا عَلَىٰ آثَارِهِمْ مُهْتَدُونَ. There is muqtadun, muhtadun also. Then another ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was given reason with them. أَوَلَوْ كَانَ آبَاءَكُمْ لَا يَعْقِلُونَ شَيْئًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was reasoning with them that are you going to follow your forefathers' path even if what your forefathers have left behind are things that don't make sense, you will still follow them? That is one of the ayahs. Now these ayahs are the ayahs that talks about taqleed, but taqleed that is discouraged, taqleed that is not accepted. Now that is number one. Now we come to number two. The ayahs that also talks about following and imitating someone who is righteous servant, a good leader, a good example person. There are many ayahs in the Quran also. One of those ayahs that are emphasized about taqleed and imitating and following leader is the ayat al-ta'a. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ati'u Allah wa ati'u ar-rasul wa ulul amri minkum. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made a general rule for every believer. And listen to the ayah carefully. Allah said, Ya ayyuhalladhina aman. And the call is not for everyone. Call to follow and obey and imitate is for those people who have attained iman. And then Allah said, Ati'u Allah. Obey Allah unconditionally. Wa ati'u Rasul, and obey the Prophet unconditionally. There is no question about it. Now the third one, wa ulul amri minkum, and the leaders of your affairs. Here the leaders of affairs, according to the tafsir, they are imams of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. That we are required by the law of Allah to follow the Prophet, to follow Allah first, follow the Prophet, no question about whatsoever. Allah says, the Prophet says, and then the ulul amr. Here, I don't want to go into the ayah because there are some deep things to talk about the ayah. But I just want to take you something from this ayah. See the ayah, Allah said, Ati'u Allah, right? Obey Allah. And then He says, Wa ati'u ar-rasul, and obey the messenger. But the third group, Allah didn't say, Wa ati'u ulul amri minkum. No. Now listen careful. Ati'u Allah, there is the word ita'a there. Means obey Allah. For the Prophet, another ati'u. But the third party, Allah didn't say, Wa ati'u ulul amri minkum. Why? Yeah, you say ati'u too. But the third one, no saying. Here, Mufassirin, they said, Allah did not mention another ati'u to tell you that the same leadership that Rasulullah has is the same ita'ah that ulul amr has. So that way you don't think that there is two different things, because the ita'ah of Allah and ita'ah of the Prophet are two different things. Now listen carefully. The ayah, when Allah says ati'u Allah, obey Allah, ati'u Rasul, obey the Prophet, there are two kinds of obedience there. What is it? You and I, we obey Allah because He is the one who is supposed to be obeyed. He is the creator. But the Prophet, we obey him not because of him, because he's taken us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, that is what. So the same ati'u, Allah said, wa ulul amr minkum. that the same and exact leadership that the Prophet has, it goes to ulul amr at the same time. That is why Allah didn't add another ulul ulul amr as well. Now, that is one of the ayahs about leadership and following somebody. That is ayah number 1. Ayah number 2 in the Quran about obedience to the leaders of our first. Another ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, مَا آتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ فَخُذُوهُ وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُوا. That whatever the Prophet brought to you, tells you, Allah says, the Prophet says, he said, take it. وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ. And whatever he prohibit you from doing, he said, follow him in the same manner as well. Now, if the Prophet tells you that after me, follow this person, after me, don't do this, it's the same line too. That is ayah. Now, there are so many ayahs, but now let me come to taqleed. Why do we have to do taqleed? And here I want to use al-aql. Because one of the reasons people ask, why do we have to do taqleed? Why do I have to follow somebody? Now, I just want to give you some life experience and then go to the hadith that we have as well. The first life experience, brothers and sisters, every one of us here and everyone who is listening, if you and I, just forget about Islam, just you and I in our daily life, whenever you want to buy a car, and you know and I know we are not expecting car, what do? We consult the car dealer, right? Now somebody tells me, I don't consult a dealer, but I go where? Online. Okay, you are consulting at least. You go online, you put the information, somebody has to put the information there for you to get that information. At least you and I, we are consulting a car dealer to get the proper information about the car before we buy. Isn't that what we do? That is the daily life. That it has nothing to do with the Muslim, non-Muslim. This is a common sense in our lives. That is example number 1. Example number 2, you want to buy a house and you are not a realtor. You don't know anything about the houses. What do? We consult realtors. We call them, we ask, we go around, we check, we make sure that we consult people who are expert in that field for us to get this information. Isn't that what we do? That's common sense. That's number 2. Example number 3, which is even easier than the 2. When you and I want to go to any town and you don't know the town, you never been there, what do? You get GPS, right? That's what we do. You want to go to some place, you don't know how to get there. The first thing you do, you go on the internet, you have also Google there to Google the map, so that way you make sure that you don't get lost. That's what we do. Common sense. More than that, brothers and sisters, you at least have GPS to take you from point 1 to point 2. That is the common sense. This has nothing to do with the Muslim, kafir, atheist. It doesn't. Anybody does that because it's a common sense. Now, in you and I, we are also travelers to Allah. We are travelers to Allah, whether we like it or not. According to the Quran, إِنَّكَ كَادِعٌ إِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ كَدْحًا فَمُلَاقِيهِ. You are struggling on your path to Allah until you meet Allah. So you're traveling. Now, not only that, from the world we started, we're travelers. في العالم الذر, you started, then you move from عالم الذر to عالم الأصلاب. Then from Alam al-Aslab, you came to Alam al-Arham. From Alam al-Arham, you came to Alam al-Shahada. From Alam al-Shahada, you're going to Alam al-Barzakh. From Alam al-Barzakh, you're going to Alam al-Akhirah. 6 worlds, you're going from one to another. So as the matter is to traveling to Allah, right? You started from Allah, and that's why we say, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. You're returning to Allah. So you started a journey from one point and you're getting back to Allah. So you're still traveling. But not only that, Imam Ali ibn al-Balaghi says, Ad-dunya daru mamar. The world is transit. When you're still traveling to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this, I just want to make a point, and that is, if we are travelers to Allah, and we don't know how to get to Allah, don't we need a GPS? In the same city you and I will live in. You're traveling to Alexandria, you're traveling to Frederick, and you're traveling to any part of the United States, and you are not sure at the area you go, in the location, you always need a GPS to take you there, right? Now, you and I, we are also travelers spiritually to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, in that world, you think with any GPS? Our GPS in that world, the first one is Allah, the second one is the Prophet, the third one is Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. That is the reason when we talk about the taqleed, that is where it's come from. That we need someone to take us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is Allah through the Quran, the Prophet through the Hadith, and after the Prophet, who is it? We say Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Now, after, because we all agree, Allah, no question about it. The Prophet, no question about it. Ahlul Bayt, no question about it. But the problem is that after the Prophet, what is the proof that we have that we are required to follow a marja in the scholar? What's the proof? That is where we're going. Now here, we all know that when the Prophet was there is no need of any marja. When the Imam is there is no need of marja. Because you need a Prophet, you go to him, you ask him a question, you get the answer, done deal. When the Imam is there, you go there, you ask him, you get your answer, done deal. The problem is that after the disappearance of our Imam, the occultation of our 12th Imam is where the matter starts. Now, brothers and sisters, we all know, for that I'm talking about what is the proof that we have that our Imams have chosen or ayah or Quran tells us to follow the maraja. Before I go to the ayah of the Quran, I just want to give you the example from our daily life also. Number one, brothers and sisters, any leader in the world, any leader that you can think of, do you ever encounter any good leader who ever leaves his people without appointing somebody to take care of them? Any leader in the country, have you ever seen a country running with just a president, no vice president? No. Every country that you go, there is a president and then there is a vice president. Now, with that said, come a little down. In the family matter also, you have the family, which there is a president, which is considered the husband. Then there is a vice president, which is considered the mother. Now, if the father is not there, the mother is in charge. She becomes the next president. If the mother is not there, then it goes to the second and the third president, which is the oldest child in the family, whether it's a girl or boy. If that child is not there, then it goes to another one. Now, this is in our daily life. This is a common sense in our lives. Right. Now, you come a little bit down, brothers and sisters. You and I, let's say you have a pet at home. A dog you have, a cat you have, a bird you have, and you want to travel. What do you do with the bird? You are allowed to leave the bird and tell the bird, look, the bird, I'm traveling to Ohio. If you need your food, there is a Walmart right here. If you need something, there is a Target. If you need your food, there is a restaurant. Inshallah, Allah take care of you for that. Do you do that? Nobody does that, right? No. What we do is, we make sure that there is someone to take care of that bird. We make sure, even if we don't have anybody, what do? We take the bird to where? Animal shelter, somewhere to be taken care of. That's the common sense we do. Now, if this is us and we understand this logic, do you think Imam is less than you to understand this simple logic? The Imam, during the time of his occultation, he leads the Ummah, not telling the Ummah, this is the person you're supposed to be following after me. You think Imam is like that? No, brothers and sisters. No prophet, since Allah created the Ummah, that a prophet ever existed, and it is time for him to go, and did not tell his followers what to do and who to follow. You go from Adam alayhi salam. Before Adam died, Allah told Adam, make sure that you appointed your son to be the follower, to be the leader after you, Adam. And Adam did that. Now go to the Quran. Yaqub al-Nabi, before he died, he brought all his children and grandchildren. And Quran mentioned that before he died, he asked them, ما تعبدون من بعدي قالوا نعبد إلهك وإله آبائك إلها واحدا. There's Yaqub alayhi salam. He was making sure that the children, they will live and follow the path that he and his forefathers have assigned. That is Yaqub alayhi salam. Every prophet followed the same thing. Even Isa alayhi salam, before he left this world, he also says, "Sayati min ba'di ismuhu Ahmed." In Surah As-Saff, he mentioned there will be a prophet called Ahmed would come after me. Now, before even the prophet came, he left 12 disciples after him. That's mentioned in the Bible and the books. Now, if that is the case, do you think our prophet will die without appointing successor? We all agree he did. Now, when the time came to our 12th Imam, do you think the Imam just left without appointing successor? That you and I, we can understand the simple concept, the common sense. Our Imam cannot understand that concept. Now that's the actual part. If you understand this, come to find out that our Imam, before the larger occultation, the minor occultation, he even appointed 4 successors that are there to take care of people. 4 successors, one after the other. Now, after the 4th one, Imam gave or chose a leader also, but that leader was not directly. And that is what did he say? In the hadith al-mashhur, known hadith, I said, "Man kana min al-fuqaha sa'inan li nafsih." These are the qualities of the Imam that Imam gave, that after him, the leader should have. And any leader who have these qualities, he is considered his representative. The first one, the quality of that leader, he has to be a faqih. He has to be a jurist, a learned person. He has to spend so many years learning and get to the level where he can go to the Quran and the hadith of the Prophet to come up with their Islamic ruling. It's called faqih, from the word al-fiqh. That is quality number 1. Quality number 2, sa'inan li nafsih. Siyana, protect himself. That means the quality number 2. If he or she becomes faqih, that's not enough. He has to have another quality, protect himself. From what? From everything that is not good. Anything, whether it is in terms of the social life, whether it's politics, anything that is not good, he has to make sure that they refrain from those things. Sa'inan li nafsih. That's number 2. Number 3, hafidhan li dinih. He has to be protecting the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's what you see our Maraja they do today. Hafid, they have to protect the religion, which means if somebody attack any in our Islam, somebody said something harmful to Islam, they have to defend. Somebody comes with the suspicious, they have to respond. They have to be defending Islam in any way that they can. That is quality number 3. Hafidan lidin. He has to protect his religion. That is number 2. Number 4, it says also hafidan lidini mukhalifan lihawa. He has to be a person who also goes against his desires. His desires of shaitan. Not good desires for good thing. No. Desires for shaitan. If shaitan wants him to do something evil, he said no to shaitan. And there is no time to tell you about some of the Maraja. What shaitan came, Sheikh al-Ansari, the author of Al-Makasib. In that book they mention some of the stories, how shaitan came to him to influence him in the money that was brought to Sheikh al-Ansari. Sheikh al-Ansari's son was sick, but shaitan was influencing Sheikh al-Ansari to take the money and use it for his personal things. But Sheikh al-Ansari did not. Any marja like him and the others, when the influence of shaitan comes, they have to be able to fight that condition of shaitan. That's what it said, mukhalifan li hawa. That is that one. Then the next one, muti'an li amri mawla. He has to be also completely and fully in obedience and the orders of his master. The master is what? The master, some people say, is the 12th Imam. Some scholars say, no, it should be, for example, the Prophet. Whatever the master makes somebody above him, which is, whether it's Imam or the Prophet. And he has to be obedient to the Imam as well. Now, after all this quality, Imam says, فَلِلْعَوَامِ أَن يُقَلِّدُوا. The word, أَن يُقَلِّدُوا. Meaning, if he meet these conditions, then I order the entire people to be in his obedience. Now, brothers and sisters, with this hadith, you know, if you say no to the Imam and to the Marja, who are you saying no to? Automatically to the Imam? Automatically. Now, don't worry about whether it's Marja is Ma'soom or not Ma'soom. That is a different story. Because even the Prophet appointed somebody at his time who was not Ma'soom. And that is what Osama bin Zayd. Osama bin Zayd was a young child where the Prophet appointed him to be the leader of his time when the Prophet was still living. And he was not even mujtahid, he was not even marja, he was not even knowledgeable. But the Prophet found the need of him being a leader, and the entire Muslim were ordered to follow him. Now the question is, what about if he made a mistake? What happened? We know that he's not a scholar. He's not a scholar. Even if he is a scholar, he might be mistaken, he might be wrong, he might make it wrong. What should we do? Here, remember, another hadith comes to secure by telling us if he made a mistake, you know what? His mistake is accepted. You know what? Because chances between him and you making mistake is between the heaven and the earth. Chances between him and you. Meaning if Allah is Ta'ala, you and I, to make our ijtihad in anything that we want, and him to make, who is more likely to make bigger mistakes? You or him? Or do you consider between the two? Knowledgeable, fearful to Allah, obedient. The chances of him, his chances of making mistake is slim compared to you and I. That is why Islam said, even إذا اجتهد فأصاب فله أجران. If he makes ijtihad, he goes, struggles, and that's what's called mujtahid, from the word ijtihad. It's a struggle. Don't think that our Maraja, great scholars, they go there and say anything they want from there or no. That's what they call mujtahid, from the word juhud, struggle. They think, they research, they ask themselves, they look at every corner, any holes about an hadith or ayah before they give the fatwa. But after all this, if they make a mistake, they say they still have the ajr from Allah. And you, the follower, you're still free from the question of Allah. But however, what happened? If he made it right, they said, وَإِذَا أَصَابَ فَلَهُ أَجْرَانِ. If he made it, he struggled and is able to come up with the right answer, he said, فَلَهُ أَجْرَانِ. There is two thoughts for him. Brothers and sisters, in any way you are insured by Allah. Isn't that even easier? No, think about it. If Allah said, you follow this person, if he is wrong, he is responsible. If he is right, he is responsible. Don't you want to take the responsibility on your shoulder and put it somebody, Yawm al-Qiyamah, you have somebody to blame? I don't know about you, but that's at least how I look at it. That if I have a marjah that I follow, if he made a mistake, Allah said, Yawm al-Qiyamah, why did he do so? Allah asked him. He told me to do it. Right? Yawm al-Qiyamah, he's right. Why did it? Okay, I did it right because he told me. In any case, you are covered and insured. Don't we want to be insured by Allah? That Yawm al-Qiyamah, you don't have to worry about questioning. Now, on top of that, do you know that our 12th Imam doesn't leave the Maraja alone to make any decision that they want without his interference? Imam, he has the link with Allah and Maraja. That when they say fatwa and it's wrong, Imam comes in to make sure that the correction is made. And that's happened with the time of the Sheikh al-Mufid, rahmatullah ta'ala alayh. When a woman was pregnant and she came, the woman died, and there is a baby in her stomach, in the womb. They came and they asked Sheikh al-Mufid, should we cut her open and take the child? Sheikh al-Mufid gave a fatwa that no, bury her. Because this was not like today. So Sheikh al-Mufid gave that fatwa. After the people left, Another Sayyid walked in, Mu'ammam. The hadith Sheikh al-Mufid said, when I look at his face, I can see the noor, but he recognized it after the Imam left. And then the Sayyid walked in. Ya Sheikhna, you gave a fatwa recently. Yes, what was the fatwa? This. And then the Sayyid said to Sheikh al-Mufid, what do you think, Sayyidi? If they are to cut the child, the woman open and take the child, wouldn't that will save alive, Sheikh al-Mufid? Sheikh al-Mufid said, no, Allah is a good idea. I think that's right. What happened? Then Sheikh al-Mufid changed his opinion on that, and he asked the family to cut the woman who was dead to take the baby alive, and the baby was saved. So even in these little things, Imam al-Hujjah makes sure that their ruling is taken care of. So it's not for you and I to worry. What about if they're wrong? If they are already being taken care of by the Imam who appointed them. So what is my problem to solve? To worry about them, what they say, what they don't say. That is in that regard. Now let's come to the people who say that, why don't we have to have a marja in America? Okay, brother, if you can find someone, go ahead. The Bible Maraja and Ishtihad is open 24 hours. No, in Maraja is saying that you cannot be Marja. No, Marja becoming a Marja is wajib kifai. Wajib kifai means if there is 1 or 2 or 4 or 5, they took the responsibility of becoming Mujtahid, then the rest of the Ummah don't have to do it. But if any person is willing to become Marja, go ahead, the floor is open. You go to Qom, you go to Najaf, the doors are open. 40, 50, 60 years of your life, spend it, become marja. Come back to the United States or any part of the world. Be a marja and have your followers. Now you look before, where was the marja'iyya used to be? In Najaf al-Ashraf for so many years. All al-maraj today in Qom, they all studied work in Najaf. But later on, when they went there and studied and they became great scholars, they went back. And they became Maraja in their country. Places like Qom, places like Lebanon, and some other places. So a Bible Ijtihad is open for everyone. Whether it's you or me, male or female, we are all allowed to go and become Mujtahid if we want to. That is, and that's it. Now, another thing also, brothers and sisters, is regarding the Ijtihad. Brothers and sisters, what is Ijtihad? Ijtihad, the word comes from the word al-juhd. And look in Arabic, Mufradat al-Rabi, or in the Arabic language, al-ijtihad, it comes from the word juhd. Al-juhd means struggling. To struggle in something, whether it is by physical, or whether by emotion, whether by mental, it's called juhd. Any struggle, it doesn't matter. Now, the word mujtahid is one of the words they use in fiqh, because in fiqh we have 3 different groups of people. It's a fiqh wise. The first group are called al-awam or al-ami. Al-ami is a person who did not know anything about Islam. They didn't go to Islamic school to learn about Islam. They can be a doctor in other fields, but we're talking about Islam. They did not study in Islam anything. They're called ami, and you see this term is used in fiqh. That's number 1. Group number 2, they are called muhtat. Muhtat are the people who studied Islam, but they did not get to the level of ijtihad. They know certain things, few things here and there, but they don't know to the point where they can go to the Quran or Hadith to come up with the Islamic ruling. These are called muhtat. Now, the third group they are called mujtahid. Is the person who have dedicated their life learning, searching years and years, where they reach to the level they can go to the Quran or Hadith of the Prophet and come up with the Islamic ruling, which can be 5 things. 1, either wajib, mustahab, haram, makruh, mubah. One of the 5 things. If they can tell you what is this ruling, what is that ruling, is called mujtahid. Now, any person who learned years and years to become a mujtahid, he automatically becomes a representative of our 12th Imam. And the ruling here, brothers and sisters, whatever he says, you and I who are not mujtahid, we are either muhtat or muqallid or ami, we have to listen. And not listening to them, not listening. This is the ruling also in the fiqh. not listening to them and acting on my own. This is from the fiqh issue, this is the rule from the fiqh. My a'mal, prayers, fasting, hajj, zakat, homes, amr bil ma'ruf, nahy anil munkar, tawalli, tabarri, anything, if it matches any opinion of marja, I'm safe. But if I disagree with any marja, then my a'mal is in the trash. Doesn't matter, salah, brothers and sisters. That's how serious this ijtihad is and taqleed is. That if my salah that I perform, it doesn't match an opinion of any marja, then Allah does not want that salah. Fasting is the same thing, hajj is the same thing, zakat is the same thing, and so as the rest of the Islamic teachings. And that's where the importance of taqleed comes in. So when we talk about the marja'iyah and the maraja', brothers and sisters, it's not self-appointed position, it's the 12th Imam appointing them, but indirectly. You can be one of them, I can be one of them. If somebody did this aspect, but let me say this to the last, brothers and sisters, and then end with this. One of the things that I always concern, and I'm wondering, and that is, it's amazing in the Muslim world. The same Muslim, he goes to a doctor, right, medical doctor. The medical doctor tells him that this is the medicine you're supposed to take, right? Allah, no question about it. The doctor said, we take it exactly as the doctor said. But you come to Islam, when the marja say this is haram, Allahu Akbar, at the same moment, we all are maraja too. Now we have to debate with marja. Why did he say this? Allah said this in the Quran. Now you go to the medical doctor, he tells you something, no question about it. You go to the aspect, somebody engineer, he tells you something about your car, no question about it. But as of the marja, when he says something, now you become marja, now you have to debate with it. Why did he say Allah say this? Now suddenly you become another marja here too. Where did we get these, brothers and sisters? At least we have to have a respect to our maraja and the scholar and know that these people, they have voluntarily their life for you and I, so you don't have to do it. And they need at least some type of respect and some type of honor for themselves, for all their dedication, inshallah. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad.
Alhamdulillah, inshallah, after Salat. As you probably know, there is a program at the school building that there is one of the